are two types of hunters in this world. Are you that one? Or are you...
Holy Jesus. What is that? What the fuck is that?
Well, regardless of which it is, I'm gonna put it to you that RNG in Monster Hunter is a good thing. But before we go crazy, hear me out. Because I don't think all RNG is a good thing. I don't think too much RNG is a good thing. But I think there is a place for it done well. What counts as well? Well. Look, I thought that might be fun. I don't know. So, curious crafting then. Well, curiously, it certainly has caused quite the stir. There is certainly a big group of, more RNG, like talismans or decorations from World of Iceborne, and I've just got to hunt a billion monsters to get a billion amber essence, to do a billion rolls to get the perfect skills on all 5 pieces, and it's going to be so long until my set is perfect, and it sucks. And there is a lot of people that have expressed that kind of sentiment, and they have done it in various different ways, shall we say, some of which nice and constructive, some of which a little bit more, degenerately, but that is the general, well, vibe from a big group. But then, of course, there is the other camp and everyone in between that is like, yeah, you know what, it's fun. I like farming the Afflicted investigations. I like that I get to do a few rolls, might get some upgrades for my set, and it's just a nice little extra bonus endgame activity and mechanic that I can enjoy. And I kind of want to delve into these two camps and where the sort of reality should lie, at least according to me, a random person on the internet's opinion. So the thing is, I can certainly understand why it can come across as frustrating. It's frustrating rolling 1,000 talismans and not getting a good one. It was frustrating in base Rise rolling 1,000 talismans and not getting the weakness exploit which you needed to enable a bunch of builds. That's not as big of an issue now since we got the decoration, but I can totally get it, as I can get back in World and Iceborne, again, rolling 1,000 decorations until you got like your first attack decoration by the time Fatalis had already been and gone, and it no longer mattered. It felt frustrating because you were prevented from actually having a build to begin with, a starter build, a way to actually get the skills that you wanted, which felt like you couldn't even get to the point where...
What do we do now? What do you mean? Now we can finally play the game.
Which is something everyone seeks, and rightly so. That's an example of too much RNG. That is too extreme RNG. That is, let's call it bad RNG, for want of a better word. But when it comes to curious crafting, as I alluded to at the beginning, I think it's a very good example of good RNG. Because let's be real here, we don't need any bonus skills on our armor. Literally none. Sets are already ridiculously powerful without any bonuses from curious crafting. Ultimately, you don't need offensive skills from curious crafting at all. Kill times are fast, sets are potent, and now that we actually know the extremes of how curious crafting can be, what you can roll, the chances of rolling it on which armor, I'll link that video down below. If you're decked out in Rare 10, like Final Boss onwards armor, you're very, very unlikely to ever see any meaningful gain other than utility skills for your set. And I think that's a big thing to point out initially to begin with. Utility skills, comfort skills, are probably going to be most people's best bet from curious crafting. And that's really important to point out, because nobody is going to go out their way to get comfort skills on their normal set, because that's simply not how we're programmed. We just kind of don't do it. But when it comes to little extras that you can randomly roll, you're more than happier to accept a random recovery up, a random quick sheath, a random evade extender, than you would go out your way to deliberately bake that into your build. And I think it's very, very good in that respect. But even if we look at going purely offensive with curious crafting, it's like, yay, I can have like 3 or 4 extra, I don't know, agitator, on my build. Woo! You know how much that matters?
Nothing!
Nothing. None. Not at all. To anyone but speedrunners, and speedrunners, as much as they are fantastic at what they do, could not be a smaller percent of the player base as a whole. Are you really sat there going, oh, this is so bullshit, I have to roll like 100 times to get like an extra rank of agitator, and I have to do that. Oh, why would they put this system in? Obviously, you know, I'm being hyperbolic, I'm sure none of you are like that, but you kind of get the gist of what I'm saying when I give that example. It's sort of perfect in a way, if you ask me, Qurios Crafting. Because it's not like decorations in World and Iceborne or Talismans in Rise and Sunbreak, where it makes all the difference how lucky you've gotten. In this case, it's the middle ground where Qurios Crafting is good enough that it is worth farming investigations for it, but it is not good enough that Qurios Crafting has to be why you farm investigations without end. It's this nice little bonus reward with each bit of amber essence you get from playing the game, as opposed to literally the reason you're playing the game. And I think that's really good. An RNG loop that feeds into, you know, the fun part of the experience that just gives you a pat on the back every time you get back to base, as opposed to standing behind you with a whip going, Hunt! 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 Hunt, or you'll never have a good set! That came across as more brutal than I expected it to, but you also totally get where I'm going with that. And I, for one, have been really enjoying it. And the thing is, honestly, it's good game design to have something like this. It increases player retention. It tickles those little dopamine receptors in our primitive brains, and it does it in a way that isn't overly oppressive. It's not predatory, it's not pointless, it's not just for the sake of it, it's not unnecessarily annoying. It's a really sweet spot and a really cool way of making everything very customizable, especially with the fact that lower rarity armor has a higher chance of giving you something good that actually plays into build design and makes you think about things a little bit differently, as does getting a skill you didn't expect and then restructuring your entire build based on that. It's not just a pure add skills, okay cool, it engages you, you have to think about it, you can't have everyone in the same set because everyone's rolled differently, but it's still within a fairly narrow power band, so even Mr. God-given Luck over there isn't really actually doing that much better than miserable I've seen nothing but Master Mounter, and I really like that. I think it honestly is one of the sweetest sweet spot Monster Hunter endgame RNG loops that we have probably ever had. And it would be so boring, look, wouldn't it, so boring, if the title update launched, you farmed your amber essence, you went up to the smithy, and you just could press a button, guarantee the skill that you wanted, chose a skill for all 5 pieces of armor, and then went on your way. That would be so lame. That would be so much less fun. It might be less annoying in certain cases if you really want to do something specific and you really need Qurios Crafting for it, but generally speaking, that would just kind of defeat the whole point. It really, really would. And I guess I really do want to know what you guys think. Which side of the spectrum do you fall on? Are you kind of like, ugh, more RNG systems in Monster Hunter, more grinding I have to do to get the armor set, you know? Or are you along the lines of, yeah, this is a fun extra, I'm not, you know, obsessed with getting the perfect Qurios crafts, I just kind of like doing it and seeing what I get and rolling with it, and that's quite fun. I would love to know what your actual thoughts are on the system now we've actually experienced it for a bit, and see what you think. I am very curious and very excited to see where it kind of develops and goes to over the course of the next few title updates, and if they expand both its scope and power and range, and then the conversation might be different. But right now, I think it's a very nice, low power but still meaningful way to reward generally playing the game without being so oppressively powerful that you just feel like you've really been screwed over if you don't get good rolls quick enough. That's kind of where I'm at. In any case, let me know what you guys think. Like if you've enjoyed this, subscribe and hit the bell for more, consider supporting the future of this channel on Patreon down below. It is what keeps us going and it does mean the world. For now then, until we meet again, a goodbye.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.